Hello and welcome to the Making Fire podcast. This is the podcast where two longtime besties talk about their favorite TV show, Survivor. This week we are covering episode 7 of Survivor season 48. How are we already 7 weeks in? That's insane.
I know.
But before we get into it, Riley, how are you?
I'm doing so well, so amazing. You guys, at one point in our 2-hour pre-talk, before we started recording, Maddie was like, oh, maybe I'll talk about this week. And then I went, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. My mom, surprised me with a little snack from the dollar store. Mini waffle cones, only the best bit of the cone. I famously love the actual, what are they called? The actual ones. The ones, what are they called?
I don't know.
Well, I like drumsticks. This is a drumstick ice cream. Ooh, so scrumptious. But then they have, I think the actual brand of these is really good. But this will be what I do today. I'm gonna try them live on air. We'll see what we do. I was thinking, do you follow, you don't watch Big Brother, but do you see JoJo Siwa is on Celebrity Big Brother? You see the stuff happening with that?
Some stuff happening. I feel, never thought I'd say this. I feel bad for JoJo Siwa.
I do too.
Because that is awful, and that man, whatever his name is,
Mickey something,
should be off the show.
Yeah. It's different in the UK, the way that they do it. It's all based on like fan voting, but I don't think the fans are having a good time. But anyway. Something to think about. So this is sort of what it's looking like. I feel like it's a good size. And
the branding kind of is giving Trader Joe's.
It is kind of giving Trader Joe's, which I'm obsessed with. That's sort of the sound it makes.
How is it? What are the top notes?
The top notes. What are the top notes? What's his name?
Coop,
what are the top notes? Coop, what does the bottle look like? What color is the bottle?
What stores does your mom shop at?
They're good. They're fine. For a little dollar store snack, worth it. And I feel like there's a lot in here. Yeah, I'd give this 5 big booms.
5 big booms. I have a recommendation. Do you like Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies?
I'll have a Thin Mint Girl Scout cookie, yes.
Okay. I don't know if every Costco has them or still carries them, but my Costco had Girl Scout Thin Mint cookie waffle cone things. So it was like a chocolate cone and then like mint chocolate inside. So good. And I'm not normally like a mint chocolate person, but I love Girl Scout cookies and I loved these. So also on the Girl Scout cookie topic, Costco, I feel like Thin Mint branding and like the vibe is just so popular. I got last week for my like snack of the week that Logan and I split was these Thin Mint chocolate covered pretzels. So good.
That sounds really scrumptious.
So good. Yes.
What do you eat your pretzels with? Do you have like a dip of choice when you eat a pretzel? Or if you had to pair a pretzel with something, what would you pair it with?
That's a good question. I feel like normally peanut butter. I like to do a pretzel, peanut butter, apple cheese kind of like smorgasbord.
I thought I pair my pretzels with cream cheese. And I thought that was very common. I actually thought that was like the thing. Like I thought people ate pretzels with cream cheese. I thought that was sort of just like that was naturally what you did with pretzels. Then to come to find out that's not the case at all. And people don't do that.
Sometimes I get the ick from cream cheese.
Oh, I love cream cheese.
I like it. I like it on a toasted bagel. If the bagel's not toasted, send it back.
Right.
Get it toasted. And sometimes I don't know. It really depends on my mood. Sometimes I'm like, ew, cream cheese is so nasty on its own. And sometimes I'm like, no, this is delicious.
I get like an inch thick smear of cream cheese on my bagel. I love cream cheese. And yeah, I just eat pretzels. I dip it in cream cheese. So scrumptious. I'd highly recommend if anybody is like, I thought that was normal. I had this conversation with somebody at work the other day because they bought pretzels. One of my coworkers bought pretzels and I was like, oh my God, cream cheese. And she was like, I was like, you should try it. It's so delicious.
I also love hummus. with pretzels.
A little
Any
chickpea
dip,
action.
Yeah, except I don't like chickpeas on their own. Call me crazy.
Got it. Chickpeas, what is a chickpea? Sorry. Maddie, I have to ask you, how are you doing?
I'm so good, but also so sad. This week, so many TV shows wrapped up for the season, and I just wanted to, highlight some of my faves. The White Lotus. I won't give any spoilers. What an amazing show. I love that silly show so much, and I'm so sad that it's over. What are your thoughts on all of it?
Sorry, I did eat another cone.
Call you out while you're eating.
Sorry, y'all, I did eat another cone because they were so scrumptious. I hated it.
Yeah.
No, guys, I was obsessed with the White Lotus. I'm always going to be obsessed with White Lotus. I just don't think some of the girls get it that need to get it.
No, they don't get it.
But I liked it. And I am sad
it.
that it's ending.
I'm devastated. Another show that wrapped up this week that Riley has mentioned in a previous episode that I started watching is The Pit. Oh my god. Now I can give my little recommendation on it. Watch it if you're in a good headspace. If you're not in the mood for something intense.
Yeah.
Or like kind of upsetting.
Yeah.
Maybe stay away.
Yeah.
But, if you're in the mood for maybe something, kind of graphic and gross and also really high stress, go for it.
Like, definitely don't. If you work a stressful job and you come home and you want to watch TV, don't watch The Pit.
Don't watch The Pit.
Don't watch The Pit.
Yeah, that show also just made me continue to realize I never ever want to work in an ER or really work a job where just like in the moment people's lives are in my hands. Like
Right.
I'm just really not cut out for that. Shout out to ER doctors and staff because wow.
I think something that us normies don't get every time, and I know there's a lot of discourse on how our entertainment talks about COVID and things like that. But when they would do, spoiler alert for The Pit, when they would do cutscenes back to like 2020 working during COVID, and I'm like, oh my god, like it was really actually hell. Like that is literally PTSD inducing. Like
especially in an ER.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Right.
Ugh. Awful.
Awful.
But great show. Next, Yellow Jackets. The season finale was today as we're watching this, and that was, in my opinion, the best episode of the season. It literally brought things full circle. That's the title of the episode. I love that for you. And it referenced things from the very first episode of the show. And really just, I cannot wait for the next season. This show is so good. Also very spooky. And especially in the beginning, for a few seasons, it was like kind of giving me nightmares. It's a little scary. Oh. But it's so good. And I love that show. And now I'm like, oh, all these good shows that I'm not going to be able to watch for so long are really sad. But,
I know.
I'm just getting back into my books. I started reading the Outlander series after being obsessed with the show. Oh my god, I cannot recommend it enough. Especially, I had been told by everyone that has seen both to watch the show, then read the books, and they could not be more correct. So if you're thinking about dabbling into that, realm, watch the show first. It just, makes the book so much more fun. But, not every show has ended.
So true.
We're actually kind of in the middle of a show.
So true.
Let's get into this Survivor episode 7. Wow.
Wow. Look at how far we've come. Can you believe that from 7 weeks ago, we were just babies and now we're graduating?
Yeah.
I saw somebody, oh my god, you gave a speech at your high school graduation.
I did.
I saw somebody, what was the reference? It was like a mix, it was like, oh no, I'm not gonna know it was somebody making fun of girls in like the popular girl in high school giving the speech at graduation.
Yeah.
But it was specifically about I'll see if I can find it in my things, but is that girl? That's how I sounded giving my speech at college. Wow.
No, you're supposed
Look at how far we've come.
The high school one, I don't even remember what I said, but I remember I tried to make it funny.
I remember, and
I,
you got laughs. I remember you getting laughs.
I also remember that. I remember getting laughs specifically. I think I was like joking about some of the teachers a little bit.
Mm,
And I remember looking over at the faculty and getting laughs out of them. And I was like, okay, like, I'm happy with how this turned out.
you know it's
'Cause,
landing.
yes, I do think a lot of sort of graduation speeches can be kind of cringe.
Hmm.
And so I was, that my goal was to, bring up the mood a little bit. But, anyways, I'll get started while you find that. So we open on I'm going to put it in quotes, merged tribe. Do we want to talk about this at the top?
Talk about
The,
what?
well, I guess maybe we can talk about it when we get to the challenge. But like how they're not actually merged. This whole mergatory thing.
Yeah.
I'm so over it.
Can we just like, girl, I'm over this anti-black agenda they have with this split tribe twist. Have you been seeing the
Oh, yeah.
posts?
No, I've been kind of avoiding Survivor stuff.
Every single thing since 40, every person that has gone home since 43 on the split tribe episode has been black.
No.
Yes.
Oh.
And then everybody keeps referencing, we go back to Survivor 42, where Drea and Marianne, you famously hate her, saw that Roxroy was that was a weird poll. Roxroy, that's crazy. Was voted
Yeah.
out, and they were like, "Oh, we're not letting either of us go home." So they both play us to protect themselves, and then Tori ends up going home.
Yeah.
I think Tori was the last white person to be voted out in this twist.
Yeah.
That was
wow.
years
That was
ago.
a long time ago.
Anyways, sorry.
Okay, so the in quotes merged tribe comes back to camp after the charity vote, and Mitch is upset about losing his number one ally, and also going into tribal thinking it was going to be unanimous for Sai, so he was sort of blindsided as well. And people just sort of are like, Mitch, like, it's not really about you necessarily, it's just that we all knew that Charity was your number one, and we didn't want you telling her about the vote, so, like,
Right.
that's why we couldn't tell you. Which I think makes perfect sense. So, fair enough. Sai says that she is a cat with 9 lives at this point, and everyone is just so obsessed with her.
And she's right.
She is right. They cannot keep Sai's name out of their mouths. And, maybe that was her 9th life, because, spoiler alert, she does not make it another tribal.
No, this can't be true. No, Lord, no, not Sai, Lord, oh, Lord.
And we will get into all that. But then we hear from our mayor of Ponderosa, eventually, Cedric, and he is talking with the group and is like, who voted for me? Who was that?
He got a taste of, Sai, how safe he is.
Yeah, and so he's like, based on the handwriting, it must be a girl, but I don't think it was Sai because I haven't seen that handwriting before. And Sai is like, yeah, in a confessional, she's like, yeah, I purposely voted for Cedric, first of all, wrote in cursive, second of all, but I wanted to vote for Cedric because I wanted to give him a taste of what it feels like to have a name or have a vote at Tribal.
She's so funny for that. I'm sorry, but she is.
I love her for that.
Funny and unserious.
Yes, that was too good. And they ultimately are able to pin this on Charity, who cannot speak up for herself. And they're like, Charity must have voted for you.
She could not speak up for herself. That's silly.
The next morning, Mitch is working on making these deeper connections with others. So he talks to Shaheen and Joe, and he's talking about his life, about being a PE teacher, all this stuff. And, I think he kind of thinks it's working, but really he's sort of just digging himself a deeper hole. Because Joe, in a confessional, says that while it's nice to get to know Mitch, he also knows that Mitch is a huge threat. He's good at challenges, he has a great social game, and he has a great story. So we cannot keep him around long.
You're one to talk, Joe. Your mother. That's what my response to that. Why, like, him and Eva have the perfect story right now.
Yeah.
And also, I'm like, oh, so you're, I guess technically you're not lying to Mitch's face, but you're not being 100% truthful now, are you?
Exactly.
Why are you building up this relationship with Mitch if you don't really want to work with him? That's not
And
very genuine and kind.
I thought your whole thing was that you wanted to work with people who were loyal and nice and putting good guys on the podium. What happened to that?
I'm glad to see, again, with Survivor Discourse Online, that I'm not the only person that's getting some. Somebody said, the season's giving very Democrats versus Republicans, and the Democrats are not winning. Again, and I just want to preface that I don't know the political standings of most of these people. And so who knows? Everybody was defending David online after last week's episode and saying David is not, like, Mary was like, this man is not what y'all think he is. Like, he is for the girls and the gays and whatever. Like, it's just the energy you're giving me. It's this idea of, like, put the good boys on top. Like, that, I'm like, yeah, that is slightly, like, giving me it's giving me this wrong energy, you know what I mean?
And, like, maybe, you know, editing is doing him dirty and giving us a
right
vibe than what, you know, we think. But
he's getting a very interesting edit right now. I think we should talk about that more when we get to the challenge portion of this episode, but David is getting an interesting edit, I will say.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'll say.
Yeah. Live your truth.
Thank you.
Then we see Sai going around and talking to the people that voted for her and trying to connect with them because she says she really hasn't in the past. And first she talks to Shaheen and she's like, you know, even though you voted for me, I think we're the type of people that want to work together. And even Shaheen says this. He's like, I think if we would have ended up on our original tribes together, there's a really good chance that we would have worked together. But that's sort of just not how the cards
That's
landed.
not how the cookie crumbled.
That's not how the cookie crumbled.
I don't want to get too far into it, but I think that Sai's problem, and ultimately why she ends up going home this episode, and I would argue Cedric as well, is their lack of making connections with people once the merge happened. And I don't think there are many pitfalls with Sai's game. I mean, I don't think she was playing a perfect, like, winning game, but I think that her biggest issue, seemingly as a audience member, is that she just didn't make connections with people when everybody else was connecting and forming relationships. It seemed like she waited too long to get back into it. And I would argue the same thing for Cedric. Cedric had no connections other than each other.
Which, not even.
Yeah, like, Sai didn't even fully trust Cedric, and Cedric is, like, iffy about working with Sai in the long run. But I do feel like part of that is the fact that having gone to so many tribal councils pre-merge, you're kind of not your willingness to participate, like, you're so dragged down by having to game. Like, they were gaming before any of these people, like, some of these people, their first tribal was last episode, right?
Yeah.
And so you get so in the dumps. You're like, oh my god, for the last, like, 7 days, I've had to fight for my literal life in this game.
Yeah.
If you're, say, getting votes at every single tribal council, and then come the merge, you're like, oh, now there's 13 people, maybe I can take a break. Maybe I can just sit back for a second and breathe. Like, there's so many other numbers in this game. Like, what are the odds it's going to be me? But then you miss those crucial bonding moments.
And the people from original Vula are... right, that was the green
yes.
They're coming in with significantly less prior connections. So, like, I think, you know, even though it's like, oh, there's more numbers... I just want a second to breathe. It's like, well, you actually do need to put in a lot more work because all these other people are already coming in with these connections and alliances where you really have nothing. Like, I know you, like, you know, there's some weird vibes between you and Mary of, like, maybe one of you thinks you're friends, the other's not really into that.
Oh.
Are you okay? He is okay.
He's okay. He's back up, everybody.
Look,
there he goes.
He's as far away from the edge now as he possibly could be.
Be careful on the other side.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, I don't even remember what we were saying. But just like, yeah, reiterating, other people came in with alliances. They really came in with nothing. You kind
Right.
of actually needed to like double down and work harder. I feel like Mary's done a pretty decent job.
I think that's because Mary was put in a worse position than Say and because Say and Cedric,
Oh,
when they
right, 'cause
swapped,
they were
had
on the
each
same.
other.
Yeah,
Mary didn't have anybody, so she really actually had, and it was probably easier because they didn't go to tribal at all, and she was
yeah,
able to, um, yeah, just work on building relationships for like 3 days.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So, yeah, that's tough. But Shaheen talks about how at this point he's had Say, Mitch, and Cedric all come and try to talk to him and try to like get into some form of alliance connections with him. And he's like, that is a good sign to me because
Mm-hmm.
everyone is trying to get on my good side specifically. And he's like, I feel like I'm in control of the game right now. He's feeling good.
I feel like it's a little early to have a full, like a, to claim that you have full control. There's just so many variables at this point. But if the
Yeah.
numbers dwindle down a little bit more, then and you're still sort of in a middle spot, then I think you can comfortably be like, I have a good grip on reality.
Yeah, because I would argue in a lot of ways. I mean, Shaheen doesn't know this, but Kyle and Camilla,
Really.
really, I'd argue they're in amazing spots. But then we have one of my favorite moments that is pretty brief. We have Shaheen and Cedric talking. They're at the little shelter, and Cedric lets us know that he is not starting an insurrection right now, and he is not about flip flopping. So we know where Cedric stands,
We know where he was on January 6th at home.
or where he wasn't,
Right.
more specifically, or no. He's done with the insurrection.
Right.
He says, been there, done that.
He said, New year, new me.
No, you're new
New
me.
administration, new me.
Just kidding.
Just kidding, you
Just
guys. It was a
kidding.
joke.
But, Anyways, let's get to this immunity challenge. So, just the premise of the challenge, they have to keep this bucket with 25% of their pregame body weight up by holding onto this handle that's on a rope thing. If they drop the bucket, they're out. We have seen this before. It looks really hard.
No.
But I like these challenge. I love the immunity challenges when they're individual more than team ones. But anyways, the gag is they are divided into two teams of 6. And 2 people are going to win immunity, one from each group. And each group is going to go to tribal council on their own. The person that lasts the longest out of everyone wins reward for their group, which is PB&J's back at camp, and will go to tribal second. The person voted out from the group that goes to tribal first will not make the jury. But the person that voted out from the second group will make the jury. And, this is where I get annoyed. Because, there's the whole thing about having to earn the merge and all of that nonsense. But then just to follow it right up with this, where there's going to be 2 people going home and you're split up, you're not even, on the same beach with each other going into this. That is not a merged tribe.
No.
And for one of them to not even make the jury,
That is the kicker.
that's not merged. They haven't been merged. And why don't we just, instead of doing this fake mergatory, split them up into 2 tribes for 2 episodes?
Right. I agree. I'm like, I don't need to see this split tribal twist. And I also think there's something, I obviously do not like I don't like this idea that only one person gets to make the jury and you're fighting for this jury spot. I feel like it would be more exciting to have the first group and the second group, because this is what it was like the first 2 or 3 times that this twist happened, that one of the people gets put on the jury and then the second group walks in and sort of reacts to that person being on the jury. And then sometimes it plays a role into what happens at tribal. Like I said, in 42, it was a more that gave room for Marianne and Drea to be like, no, we're taking a stance. Like, neither of us are going home tonight type situation.
Yeah.
Which I think is that is an exciting way. I don't like the twist anyway, but I'm like, if you're going to have the twist, I would prefer that there's that interaction or that sort of part of it.
It's more exciting.
It is more exciting. I think there's an excitement of having the second group walk in and react. I think that inherently is exciting to watch. Like, ooh, what's going to happen?
Is that a more exciting moment than
I would
finding
say,
out who wins?
Yeah, I would say yes. Yeah. And I feel that I don't know, it creates another layer to how the vote is going to work. Like, you can create different plans depending on who you're going to see there.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. Frustrating that we don't get say on the jury. Like, that's so annoying.
Which we will get back to that. But ultimately, this whole thing of splitting them up is just so dumb to me. I hate it so much. So, and you know what? You could even have, like, 2 people win immunity if you wanted. Mm-hmm. And maybe the group that wins overall just gets the reward. Mm-hmm. But then you all vote together still. Or if I don't even know how this would work, but like, even if you voted 2 people off, but you're all voting together, and like the first person goes to the jury, they do another vote. I don't know.
I think an exciting twist, and I think they've done this on Australian Survivor. I don't know if they've done it on American Survivor, at least in my recollection. But I also do think this is a pretty common, like, online Survivor twist, is that you just do an immediate live tribal council. So, like, you vote somebody out, and then you just immediately go into the next one. Like, Jeff's like, don't grab your stuff, don't head back to camp. We're immediately voting another person off.
Yeah.
And you can maybe do a quick immunity challenge in that moment. So somebody can get immunity. But or it could be fun. Now my planning head is coming on. You do the challenge, and you split. You've done this in the past. Like, you split people. Like, you can either pick if you want a reward for later, or you can pick immunity now and have the people divide that way. So the people who are playing immunity now, whoever wins that is immune at the first tribal council, and whoever gets the reward for later, whoever wins that one, wins immunity at the second tribal council.
Yeah.
And then you go straight from the first one into the second one, give them like 10 minutes to talk as a group to figure out who they're going to vote out. So then you're still getting 2 eliminations in the same episode, but that is so gaggy. Like, having to plan something in 10 minutes, and then obviously it comes all the people being like, well, how is that fair for the person that gets voted out, like, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, hey, it just is the game.
I think it's just, I think one of the big problems with what happened last episode is that it's not exciting for the audience or the players because they've done this before. So it's not like this crazy twist. It's just like, oh, this sucks. And like, especially how we see the vote play out. It's just like, oh, well, this actually is a real letdown from the storylines of the rest of the season. But let's back up. On the first team, we have Star, Joe, Mitch, Chrissy, Eva, and Say. On the other, we have Kyle, Shaheen, Cedric, Mary, David, Camilla. Getting into this challenge, Cedric drops before Jeff can even finish his opening yap monologue. Really,
Cedric is just so real. I'm like, Cedric, I see you.
The second person to drop is gonna go ahead and be Star, but I think that it was intentional.
Here we go.
As a way to lower her threat level.
And I would agree.
And because, she sees those 2 buff guys.
Right.
She's like, there's just no shot I'm going to have this.
There's no way in wasting all of my energy and hurt my hands on this challenge if I know I'm not going to win.
Exactly.
And then there's no pressure on me. See, I do make it to the end. There's no pressure on me to go against David or Joe or whoever to be the one that wins the challenge. Like, no pain, no gain. Wait, no gain, no. No pain, yes gain.
Exactly.
And that's what people have been saying. That's what the people have been saying.
That's what the people have been saying. So, Star and her,
her mind.
Her mind. You guys, we just don't understand. Okay.
She's on another wavelength. She has her third eye. She's seeing things that we don't.
There was a lot of dialogue in this challenge for once also. So then we have Jeff flirting with Kyle, telling him that he looks good in that immunity necklace.
Hey.
That's tea.
Hey.
Hey. And there's a lot of smack talk between them as well. We have Eva, Joe, Kyle, and David all sort of going back and forth, which is really interesting and entertaining. I love to see it. We also have Shaheen sort of, giving us some classic Survivor vocals, if you will. And I did really love the editing of this.
They blended it really well.
Yes. And then just he did it a couple times. It was actually really impressive and good. Maybe he does that. He practices back home. He had actually been practicing and he was waiting for a moment to be able to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. But that was fun. But in the end, it comes down to David and Joe. Well, actually, let's get there. In the end, Joe wins immunity for his group. And then we have David, who's like, hey, he tells Kyle, because they're the last two on his group. And David's like, hey, I got this. Literally look at me. And Kyle's like, fair enough. And so he drops his bucket and takes the spot on the bench. And then we have David tells Joe that he's doing amazing. And that he himself is doing. He's like, I'm doing great. And Joe at this point is not looking as confident. He's definitely more focused because we have David, who's literally one hand checking his nails, feeling the breeze, taking in the scenery, and then Joe, who's locked in. And, we did have Chrissy from the Peanut Gallery speaking up, and when David's like, hey, I'm doing great, Chrissy's like, and so is he, so is Joe.
One thing Chrissy's gonna do is talk. One thing, she's gonna make her voice heard.
Yeah.
She's gonna have a little, it's just a Midwest mom thing to do. She's gonna have another comment. She's never gonna be the last person, you're never the last person to get a word in. She's gonna make sure she's in the
right.
In the room where it happened.
I loved this for her.
No, I do too.
Then this whole challenge is just so easy for David that he literally starts wiggling the handle. He's like, this is literally this
is my warm up, babe.
Exactly. And ultimately, after lasting nearly an hour, David wins easily.
There was somebody last season where they had muscles. Was it Sam? Somebody had muscle, and I remember us having a girl that's just for show because they did not do good at these types of challenges. Yeah. I feel like it was Sam. I can't remember, but yeah. Sorry, one of my other favorite Chrissy moments was when it was Kyle, David, Joe, and Eva left up there. And Eva's like, do it for the or Chrissy's like, do it for the girls, Eva. I'm like, girl. Eva said IDGAF. She said that's the wrong person to be spewing girl power at, unfortunately. And then Eva at one point was like, I love fighting it out up here with you guys. And I was like, oh. Ew. She's like, I love being up here with you boys. I was like, oof.
Yeah, I know. Sorry to Eva, but not it for me.
Not it for us, unfortunately. And I'm sure it works for you and a specific audience of people. Somebody's eating that up. It's not us, unfortunately.
No. Well, we go back to camp with the winning group. Also, they didn't even get to go to the sanctuary.
Where good things happen. Infamously.
They had to go back to camp.
I don't think we've gotten any... We've got one sanctuary thing this season, I think, so far.
Yeah. That's fine. Anyways, David says that he had no doubts that he was going to win. And based on the group he's with, he's like, I see Said going home tonight. Mary then says to the group that she thinks Sai is going home from the other group, obviously.
And I love that it catches Cedric off of guard.
I know. And Said is aware that he is most likely to go home because he has 0 alliances in this group, which I'm like, do you really have that many alliances on the other group?
I know. Who are you?
I think you're kind of bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah, unfortunately, bestie.
In general, unfortunately. And But then Kyle's like, well, it might seem obvious to go said. He doesn't really trust Shaheen after he knows that Shaheen went through his bag and is a good liar. So he would like to see him go home and not have to look over his shoulder for him constantly. So I'm like, yes. Like, thank you for thinking of the game.
I know, thinking of other routes.
Yes. Like, keep it interesting, entertaining. Let's go over to the losers back at the Siva camp. And Joe says that this vote is really about who do you not want on the jury. And he says he can most likely see it being Say or Mitch. Say starts by trying to talk to Joe, but really can't get much out of him. Because, which, I don't know. It's just Joe's personality, I guess, and like how he wants to play. But if I see someone trying to talk to me, then I'm like, let's talk.
Right. Like, let's break that down.
But he just wants to play this honest game. He doesn't want to he doesn't even want to be in the position to lie to Say.
Which I'm like, I feel like you're missing out on such a crucial part of the game.
I agree. Then Say goes to Eva and is trying to secure a vote for Mitch, especially after he voted for Say twice. But she's nervous about him using his block vote, which he does have.
Yeah, so true.
Unfortunately. And Eva says that she wouldn't mind seeing Say go, but also sees how strong Mitch is in so many ways. So it would, also be beneficial to get him out now. But
there's just a lot of back and forth, and I feel like ultimately we know it's going to happen. Guys, spoiler alert, I was watching this episode. I already know who went home before I watched the episode because I got spoiled on Twitter, unfortunately. But, so then while I was watching the episode, it felt like I had no stakes. As in, like, girl, I already know what the setup is going to be. Like, you're going to try to trick me out. It's just not working.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm having a hard time with Joe at the moment. Joe, this whole group of people who are pushing this agenda of purity and innocence and like we're gonna be all holy to the end. I'm like, it just doesn't work. Part of this game is jury management. Unfortunately, Say is not on the jury, but part of it is like you have to be able to make people feel good about you. Like, Say was in the jury. I don't see a world where she votes for any of these people who didn't put in time with her, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's very obvious that like she's wanting to talk to these people and they're just like brick walls. Like nothing.
And to play devil's advocate, obviously we love Say here, but I do think part of this is that Say just slacked on getting to know people. Again, at least from the edit that I'm seeing.
Until it was too late.
Right. The context that I'm getting is that Say just took too long to want to work with these people. Like, they had already started forming things. And that's just how quick it happens on Survivor. But I feel still that there was a lack of real effort being put in to listen to her or hear her out or see how she fits into their games.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we go back to the winning group, and Shaheen, David, and Mary are talking about who to tell Cedric that they're voting for. And Mary, in front of Shaheen, is like, how about we go with Shaheen? Which is nerve-wracking to him, but he seems like relatively cool with it.
There was a moment where he was like, I don't know, but there wasn't a lot of pushback against it. I mean, we've seen that be the reason, like, a ton of, literally, Genevieve's pop-out episode last season was because Keyshawn was like, we told them it was going to be you, and she said, that's not going to work for me, and then flipped it onto Keyshawn.
I was actually scared for Mary when she did this. I was like, I don't know if this is, like,
smart. Yeah.
Yeah. But then Shaheen tells Kyle about this plan, who then Kyle goes to Cedric and is like, let's use this to actually get Shaheen out, which I was very excited about this potential. Luckily for Kyle, he has Camilla with him. So he's able to sort of work through his plans and this idea. So they brainstorm on how they can manufacture a lie to David to keep him on their good side. So Camilla then pulls out another Oscar-winning performance. Get this girl on TV.
That's what I'm saying.
on another show.
Right.
Scripted.
A scripted TV show.
And she then frames Shaheen and says that he probably has an idol. I'm like, and this works great on David at this point. He's like, uh-oh.
She's, oh.
She's like, I think he might have an idol. So good for her. David is then feeling conflicted because he's like, I see the pros and cons to voting for either Said or Shaheen. Who will I go with? Yeah.
Who will he go with?
knows?
Who knows? I knew.
Who knows you? At the Siva camp, Chrissy is feeling conflicted between Mitch and Say. So then she talks to Star about voting for Mitch. And Star is happy to vote for Mitch because he's good at challenges and she wants to target the physical threats. See, I love
this for her.
I love this, like, it's the people that want to get out the people because they're a physical threat, and then the people who want to get out the people
non-physical threats.
Non-physical threats and liars.
Right.
Yeah.
I hate, I just hate moral superiority in the game of Survivor. You're not better than me.
Yeah.
If anything, you were more, there was more, I don't know, Say's game, to me, everybody's like, Say's a messy player, Say's a messy player. But I'm like, Say never lied. She also is a player that never lied. She did everything she said she was going to do. And
That's
y'all just don't like how she went about it. And I think Say is the perfect mix. I'm like, if you want to play an honest game, you have to play it like Say. You have to be brutally honest. You have to say what you're going to do full force and do it. Where I feel like players like Joe, Eva, David are people that'll be like, I'm not going to lie. But in the process of not lying, they're not being 100% truthful. Like, they're holding information back, or they're being selective about who they're talking to or what they're talking about. And like, that is not a truthful game. Just because you aren't actually lying doesn't mean you're lacking integrity, and you're preaching integrity.
Yeah. And at least Say is playing an interesting to watch game.
Right.
Where, I'm nothing but bored when I'm watching Joe and his group just, give us nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care what you have to say.
No, because I'm just like, you're not going to do anything exciting.
Exactly. So then we have Chrissy talking to Say about voting for Mitch. And Say is happy to hear this because Chrissy, so far, has pretty much kept to her word on sticking to the plans.
Mm-hmm.
And Chrissy, though, also tells Say that she isn't worried about Mitch using his block of vote tonight. Unfortunately. But Mitch is then talking to Joe about voting for Say and wanting to work together with him. And he says he is happy to use his block of vote tonight, which I do feel like there's kind of no better time to use it.
Right.
In a small group.
Where you're on the bottom.
You're on the bottom. Like, really, why would you not use it tonight of all nights?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're also talking about how they think the other tribe is going to vote. And Say and Chrissy agree that while Said would be the easy vote, Shaheen would be the smart vote.
Right.
And I completely agree with them.
I agree, too.
Should we get to this first tribal council?
I mean, yeah, we can.
Okay. They start by talking about how they all handled the conversations this afternoon. And I love Chrissy talking about cutting the crap with this no lying, no dishonesty nonsense, which Joe, of course, pushes back on. But Chrissy's like, I don't want to just give the $1 million to the nice person with a good story. Like, let's play a good game here. This is Survivor. I'm like, thank you for saying that.
Do I think this is going to bite her in the butt? 100% yes. Because it's interesting.
I'm glad that she said it.
I'm glad she said it, and Star was thinking it. Like, this is basically what Star said in her confessional. And Chrissy just said it out loud to everybody, which I don't think it was. It wasn't that it wasn't articulated well, because I definitely get the point she was saying, but I'm just like, this wasn't the time or the place to do it. This is something you talk with your close allies about. People that you're comfortable with and aren't going to take this information and run with it. Like, you can engage in conversation with.
Yeah. And then how about you just start lying to the group that doesn't like lying and see
Right.
how they figure it out. If they
Right.
figure it out and where that gets
Right.
them.
Right. Um but I agree, I fully agree with her. And she's like, if we're going off like physical prowess, like I'm not going to make it to the end. I'm like old. I'm an old woman. Like I don't have the skill set to get me where
Yeah.
I need to go just based on like physicality. So I have to
Yeah.
inherently lie in this game. Like for my game to stand out, I'm not going to win challenges compared to David or Joe or Kyle. So for
Yeah.
my game to stand out in the end, I have to lie. Like I can't get through this game not lying or not being strategic or sneaky.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
And
is
it's
Chrissy's
also
game any less
a
valuable
game.
than David or Joe's?
No, it's like not everyone gets to come on here with these muscles.
Right.
Not everyone is a stunt performer who drinks a gallon of milk a day.
Right. You have to be mindful of where everybody else is at. And
Yeah.
I really think that was a very interesting point, and I'm glad that she said, again, like, I do think there are going to be repercussions for her actions, but I do think this was a really important point to throw out, and hopefully other people will hear it and respond to it, and
Mm-hmm.
realize, like, was Star at this tribal
I
with
don't
Chrissy?
remember.
I don't know, but if other people hear her having the same opinions, then it's going to be like a wake-up moment. It'll be like, oh, wait,
Yeah.
there's some truth here, and there's something that needs to be dug deeper.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get to the vote. And ultimately, Mitch plays his block vote on Say, and she ends up going home.
And a 5-0 vote.
And this is really upsetting. I think what's hard is that so much of the pre-merge was built up on this like battle between Cedric and Mary. And I mean, obviously we'll get to it, but Cedric goes home next. It's like this was the most anticlimactic finale, like ending of the story, and like had zero payout.
Okay, to play devil's advocate,
Hmm.
I agree mostly with what you're saying. I agree that we were given this very grand story that did not have a good, like, it didn't have a good ending. I agree with that. I think, in the grand scheme of the game as a whole, now I'm thinking, oh, this is probably Mary's story, which is weird because I feel like since Merge we have not gotten a lot of Mary content, specifically compared to the early stages of this game. But I feel like there's a
Hmm.
narrative here where that was Mary's Act 1, and now we're entering Act 2.
Yeah.
And so in the sense of an Act 1 finale, I'm like, okay, she's the last person left on from her original tribe. All of the ties that she had to the Vula are gone. She has no
Yeah.
she has no reason to work with Sarah Cedric anymore. Obviously they're not in the game, but it's an open book. She's free to do whatever she wants. So in the perspective of if Mary were to win this season, in the overarching this is Mary's story, I do think that this is an okay end to Act 1. This is a good book end.
Yes. If
But
Mary doesn't win,
yes, that's like the
I'm gonna be
caveat.
upset.
I'm like, okay, so now, but then it's like, okay, again, to continue playing devil's advocate, say Mary doesn't win, say Mary gets out in the next couple votes. What were the editors / producers supposed to do? Were they,
Yeah.
because this was the pre-merge. Vula was the pre-merge. They went to every single tribal, minus one. But the OG tribe went to every single tribal.
Yeah.
And so they like this was the first 3-4 episodes of the season was so heavily on this. If
Yeah.
we don't ultimately get a payout, what are we supposed to watch for the first 3 episodes? Like the story
Yeah.
was so intertwined
Just
with
them.
it was just them. So like,
Yeah.
obviously they're gonna have to go in depth on this tribe that is going to every single tribal council to give us the proper story for us to understand the stakes in the tie vote, for us to understand why Say doesn't like Mary, like what all this energy is, right? So
Yeah.
again, it makes sense why they did it, but now stepping back from devil's advocate, I agree. It's a disappointing end to the story because it seemed like we were going to get a rivalry of all rivalries. But how are the
Or
producers supposed to
or them to
know?
like then work together or
Right.
something.
Right. You
I
think
think
that's how it was being set up.
I think what I'm most upset about is that she's not even on the jury. Like
Right.
she's
Like there's
just
no
gone.
engagement there at all. Like it's out of the realm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um
And like I totally understand. I do think like I don't really know what other story they would have told in the pre-merge.
Right.
And like I get it, but I think it's hard to have this end with this like twist of them going onto these separate tribes and
Right.
having the two tribal councils.
Like, they don't even vote
Like
each
I
other out.
already
Like,
yeah, like there was just I already don't like that. And honestly, I don't even whoever would have gone home from these tribals, it's like, well, this sucks. Like
right.
I don't like this. It's rough that it was said and then immediately after Cedric.
Yeah, and I can't imagine, like, if this was like a whole tribal, like if everybody was voting at the same thing, I do feel like Say is probably, or her name is going to be thrown out either way. Like she was probably going home either way.
Yeah.
I don't see a world in where she makes it out of this, whether it's a double tribal, where it's a regular tribal, whatever. It just seems like she was probably the next logical step while all of these lines are forming still.
Yeah.
But it sucks that this is how she went out. It sucks that she's not in the jury, and it sucks, you're right, that there was no, like, we didn't even get, like, a moment where Mary was the one who sealed Say's fate. Like, if that was the case, Say goes out pre-jury, and Mary had something to do with it, I think that would even have been an okay finish to the story.
Yeah.
But it's like, we didn't, like, there was no goodbyes, there was no wrap-up, it's just, like, all in the air now.
And both of the votes were boring.
They were boring. It was the predictable, like, thing.
On both tribes, they just went with the easy option.
Right.
And so I think that's also part of it. Is like, obviously, let me just glance over this because it's boring. At the next tribal, they talk about, like, the difference between deciding to put someone on the jury versus just voting them out and, like, how you go around that. And, like, the short-term, long-term benefit of things. And then Cedric goes home. And, like, it's just so boring. Like,
it is really boring. Unexpected.
And what I was going to say before is, like, obviously both of them could have put in more work with making alliances to, like, hopefully try and get them out of this position. But it just, like, they both end up being the odd man out on their tribes.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, well, easy.
And I think we see, if we think back to Survivor 45 with Emily and Caleb, I think this is a similar where they were the last two on their original tribe. And they also, Caleb infamously was going to be the first person voted out. And then he played a shot in the dark and he voided like 12 votes or something.
Yeah.
But, like, they were also set up in a similar way where Caleb did go early in that jury phase. Yeah. And Emily made it to, like, mid-merge, but, like, she didn't make it to the end. So there's, you're starting, and it all just goes back to the way that they're formatting these new era seasons. Like, it sucks. You're putting people in 3 tribes. One tribe is going to be weaker inherently, and then they're going to go back to back. And then once it comes to merge, it's like, okay, well, they're the easy pickings.
Okay, that's actually a really good point because, like, once again, I totally see why things were edited this way and, like, why we're seeing the story that we're seeing. But yes, it does all come back to, I need just, like, something different in the beginning. I'm so over how these, like, 3 small tribe dynamics play out. And, like, yeah, last season was one of the first ones in a while, it feels like, where it wasn't just one team losing every single time. But, like, yeah, the 3 of them being put on this terrible tribe early on and having to fight back from that. It's like a story we've seen multiple times now. And so I think that's also just part of it. It's like, that part was disappointing, even though we got a lot of good drama and, like, craziness from the beginning. It's just like seeing the 3 tribes in the beginning that I don't like, then these people being on the bottom and having to fight back from that, and then having again this, like, mergatory into the double tribal thing. It's like over and over and over again. Let's make it interesting. Like, yeah,
you're inherently making it harder for the underdogs to do well. And in a show like Survivor, where most of your audience is going to be rooting for the underdogs to do well,
yeah,
I would argue that most of the Survivor audience, like, you just inherently like an underdog story. Like, that's just culture.
Yeah.
that it makes it hard. I'm like, damn. So both of our underdogs, all three of the underdogs really, because Charity, had no chance. Like they went back to back to back, but Say was sort of our ultimate. And you could argue now Mary is the underdog as well, but Mary was more. Was well insulated, much better than Say was or Cedric. So I don't know. I'm just like, now, damn. And then, sorry.
Oh, you go.
I was just going to say, you spent, and again, what else were they supposed to do in the pre-merge? Mm-hmm. But really, Cedric and Say were our big characters. Like
That's exactly what I was
they were
say.
they're the wild people on the show right now. Like everybody else, okay, we do have some good characters, but I'm like, these are the people that were bringing the drama.
Right, and what I was going to get into with that is like, you format the show in the beginning where we only focus on these very few people, mm-hmm. and then so they're a huge part of the story of the season. Just to continue to put the underdogs in bad positions, and then to see them go home in these anticlimactic ways is like, you're just kind of setting it up to be disappointed. Right.
And again, it's not like the producers choose who goes home, right? Like, and I think that's part of the conversation. It's like, okay, well, how are they, not how are they supposed to know? Because I'm like, you could have inferred. And that's why I think I feel at this point we're saying the same thing over and again. But to cap this conversation off, the moral of what we are saying is that there are ways to predict that this is how this is going to play out. Like, you can look at the past 6 seasons and really, like, pinpoint, if we start with 3 tribes of 6, and 1 tribe goes to every tribal, and then we have a mergatory, and then those underdogs go home, then now we're left with a group of 10 people that we haven't fleshed out at all, that really have no, there's no suspense in their game. Like, we don't know much about their game presence. It's a lot about their personal stories, which then goes into the conversation of a lot of the people in this new era. One of the big problems they have with the new era is that you're just getting people on Survivor based on their stories. Yeah. And you're like, well, at this point, 7 episodes in, half of this tribe we haven't had to see go to back-to-back tribals like that. Like, they haven't been battle tested. So really, all you can base their edits off of is their real-life stories and the conversations they're having about their real-life stories. Because they don't have a game presence yet.
Yeah, exactly.
So ultimately, there's not much the editors can do, right? If Say gets voted out, Say gets voted out. They can't save Say. You know what I mean? Like, if Say is playing a bad game and people vote her out, they vote her out.
Yeah.
But the production should be smart enough to, know, okay, we shouldn't set up our season like this if we are wanting characters like Say, like Cedric, to survive in the long run. Because we're inherently giving our underdog wild off characters a harder chance come the merge.
Yeah, I think that's a good distinction. It's not necessarily about the editing, it's about the fundamental pieces of the season that production is setting up.
And that they know because they've replicated it the past 6 seasons.
It's not like we haven't seen this before.
Right. And obviously there are differences a little bit each season, and it depends on the cast. There's so many variables. But let's not act like we don't know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen because it's happened basically the same way the last 6 seasons.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen. And don't play yourselves, because now I'm leaving this episode and a lot of the people on Twitter, Twitter is primarily, I know that's not a great, anyway, a lot of your fans in this specific genre, right, or this specific type of fan are now leaving being like, what's going to happen? Like, the drama just dropped.
Well, also, if Mary does win, it's like, great, so we're seeing Kenzie's story, but just again.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's just a thing that it keeps happening. And it's like, let's just switch it up, please.
I need a mix up. Like, I'm surprised that CBS, I'm surprised, I don't know, the upper executives, like, the fun thing about Survivor is not that it's like, I don't know. Because you put it in, the whole idea is you get a different cast every season, and then that's what shakes it up, is you never know how this group of 18 people are going to play compared to the last group of 18 people. Like, it's different every time. But it's not, as an audience, I'm like, it's getting old. The format is getting old, the challenges are getting old.
I also really like the cast, and like, this is nothing about the cast.
Right, this is nothing.
They do continue to cast very similar archetypes.
They do.
And not a lot of villains or people that are like going against the positivity narrative.
Right.
So I think that plays into it too. Is like Jeff has said he doesn't want to cast like actual villains. But then when you have these standout people, I don't know. It's just there's so much repetition in every single area of
that can be changed. Like, it doesn't have to be the same. I think if you don't want to cast villains, fine. Cast people who are there to make TV. If you don't want to budge on casting people who give off a negative energy, okay.
Fair enough.
But like I would say Say is not a villain. I did not get villainous energy from her. She's playing. She knows she's on TV.
Yeah.
That is juicy. That's fun. People who are out there, obviously she wants to win $1 million, but she wants to put on a good show while she's getting the $1 million. She's out there playing Survivor, and she's going to perform for the camera. That's not inherently villainous.
No, but then people people on this cast specifically like to make things like that out to be villainous.
Right.
And it's like, so I think, I mean, obviously been saying there's people on this season who want to play like this nice game and they don't want to play for TV.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, it's just not, that's not what I'm here for.
I just think don't cast people who, I don't know. I don't need a villain. I don't need a Russell Hands. I don't want a Russell Hands.
I don't want it.
I don't want it. I don't like, but again, like, I think what makes like a Sandra or even a Boston Rob, okay, they are villains in the Survivor lore, but I would argue who are playing the game. The reason that they work so well is because they are playing for the camera.
Yeah.
Not inherently villainous. Like, they're not out here. They're not bad people. Buster has 4 daughters. How can that be bad? But I'm just saying, like, okay, Jeff, you're fine with no villains. Don't cast people who want to be mean, who are bad people, who are bad people,
who are mean spirited. Yeah, that's
fine. But cast people who want to make TV.
Yeah.
That, I think, will increase your characters like Say. It'll increase people like Rome from last season.
To play with Say.
Right.
I think that's another thing is, like, as much as we're saying Say didn't really work hard at working with people.
Allegedly.
That's what we get.
Right.
From the edit.
Right, from the edit.
It doesn't feel like there's a ton of people who want to play
with somebody like
Say.
Right.
Like, there's a whole army of people on this island right now who are actively wanting to not work with people like Say.
Right.
For the game that she is playing.
Right.
And so I think that's tough.
You're setting these characters up to do bad.
And you're setting them up to be the villain when they're not the villain.
And casting Say, sorry, the tangents, but like, casting Say who Say's going to be. Like, I'm sure 100% from her audition video, you knew exactly the type of player Say was going to be. There's no answer, but that's why you casted her. You knew how she was going to appear on TV. Why are you not putting her with other people that play similarly to her, or want to play similarly to her, or want to attack the game like her? I don't know. I'm just saying, like, stop setting people up for failure. Shake it up. Shake it up. We need to get Selena Gomez on the podcast. Do you think you can reach out to her?
I thought you were gonna say, can we get her on Survivor?
Hot in the Blue. Have you heard her new song?
No. Well, I know her and Benny Blanco have been working on stuff.
Yes, her newest song, Blue is Flame. It's kind of, I'm kind of like, it's kind of a little song. Anyway. Sorry, y'all. I think that was an important conversation to be had, though.
I think it is, too. And, like, I don't want this episode to feel like a downer.
Right.
But I think it's just, having watched all of the new Era seasons, it's just like, oh, man.
Like, I've
seen this before.
I think
it's and I didn't like the ending of this episode specifically.
Right.
Just as I haven't in other episodes that have played out exactly like this.
And I think it's an important conversation to have because a lot of people are leaving this episode. A lot of people were entering the merge on a high because the pre-merge was so entertaining. It was really, really entertaining. And are now, a lot of people are dropping. It went from 100 to 0 really quick. Like, a lot of people are leaving this episode being like, what the hell are we supposed to do now?
Yeah.
It's not fun watching the people who have a high morality, a high moral compass be right.
On a reality TV show.
On a reality TV show where it's about lying. Outwit, outplay, outsmart. I don't know. Wait, outwit, outplay, outlast. outsmart. Anyway. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's good. And I'm glad we had that conversation too, because I think it's important. And like, this is a piece of the story that is this season. And like, it's gonna feel different, I think, at this point. 2 divas down.
The divas are down.
The divas are down. This was a bad day for the divas. But, you know, leave us your thoughts in the comments on how you feel about things. I'm still excited about this season.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let this be.
Low.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let it be. I mean, looking at the preview next week, it looks like David is gonna, at least from the edit, I don't know. It looks like David might spiral a little bit, and I think that could be exciting if that messes up the lines or something. We'll see.
Yes. See, yeah, now I'm going to need other people to sort of rise to the occasion and deliver me the television, because Camilla, Kyle, and Star can only do so much for us. Like, I don't think they should be carrying the whole season on their backs.
Right. Star specifically.
Star specifically, and then Kyle and Camilla.
Star, space, Camilla, space, Kyle.
I need those 3 to trio up.
I need that to be the final 3.
Oh my god.
GAG.
Yeah, well, you know, thank you for listening to this episode. I hope, you know, it was an interesting conversation about how we're feeling about things beyond just like even this season in general, beyond that. And yeah, that wraps up my thoughts.
Slay.
We'll see you next week. I can't wait to see what happens with David.
I know.
And hopefully it's exciting. But in the meantime, be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Making Fire Pod. And we'll see you next time.